Hi guys, and welcome back to Hilltop Farm, and welcome back to another Sunday Soapbox. Now, before I get started on this week's topic, I just need to show you something, because this to me defies belief, and while I'm on a soapbox I may as well have a little rant about this. Okay, we buy these here, okay? These are medical feeding tubes for premature babies. Okay, we keep them on hand because we breed Papillon dogs, and occasionally you need to supplementary feed them, or you'll have one that's had a particularly difficult delivery, so for 24 hours is a bit flat, but yeah, whatever. The last litter of puppies we had was like that. They were very tired and worn out for 24 hours, and Molly always seems to take 2 or 3 days for her milk to come through, so they're hungry anyway, and they're tired, and you know, they feed a little bit but they don't get anything. So first 24 hours with Molly's babies, we generally give them 2 or 3 top-ups till their milk comes in. So we use these, and we used the last one with her last litter, so I ordered some more, because we always obviously keep them on hand, because it's not just her, we might need them for another litter or whatever. So I ordered 10. Okay, now they're in this packaging. That's how thick it is. Okay, and you've got to bear in mind, I don't know if you can actually see it, but can you see there's a green line through there? That's it. Okay, that green thing, and it's rubber. I mean, you can fold these in half or whatever. Now, we were charged for these, okay, $10.50 including tax, right, for 10 of them. Okay, we go straight to the supplier, medical supplier, and order them from there. Now, they also charged us $7.23 including tax for postage. Postage for these is this humongous carton. Is it just me, or does anyone else feel that this box is slightly overkill with all its packing? To send these 10 little tiny tubes through the posting. We pay for this. They could have posted this for $2 folded in half in a large envelope. Absolutely ridiculous. Insane. Anyway, I had to complain because I just felt that just defied belief. Anyway, enough about the postal service. And if anyone from another country thought that, whether it be the US Postal Service or the Royal Mail or whatever country you happen to be in, they're all as bad as each other. Australia Post is just as useless as everyone else, although obviously Australia Post aren't necessarily responsible for picking that particular carton. The fact that the carton arrived looking like it had been run over by some sort of, you know, forklift or something, that I suspect is down to Australia Post. But anyway, what can you do? Now, this week's soapbox, I'm actually going to be talking about nurseries, garden nurseries, not childcare facilities. When I was a kid, there was garden nurseries everywhere, I remember, but I know it's coming up for 20 years ago that we moved to Hilltop, and it was very much a blank canvas when we moved in. So all our fruit trees and any other plants that are growing here, we put in. There was one pear tree, I beg your pardon, and that pear tree, I suspect, had only been planted 12 months earlier. It was no thicker than my thumb at the thickest point, and it was growing at 45 degrees, no word of a lie. It was planted growing at 45 degrees, and it was one stick, one solitary stick. This probably about as tall as me, and I actually I didn't realise it was a plant. I thought it was in fact a stick that, you know, kids had sort of shoved into the ground, because it looked dormant. And we moved in end of February, which is sort of towards the end of summer, but it certainly wasn't autumn. I mean, that very same tree is only partway through losing its leaves now, but there wasn't any leaves on it, and it hadn't been watered for forever. And once I realised, oh, hang on, this is actually a tree of some description, flooded it with water, and very quickly it grew half a dozen leaves at the top, then did nothing, and then of course when autumn came went dormant. And so I dug it up, gave the roots a trim, planted it where I wanted it in an upright position, and I cut this stick that was about as tall as me. I cut it off probably waist height, and thought, well, we'll see what happens. And sure enough, next autumn it woke up and it sprouted shoots around the top, and we had half a dozen branches come out, and it's the most magnificent pear tree now. But point of the matter is, it was the only tree or plant on the property. So everything else we had to buy, and there was a nursery probably 10 to 15 minutes drive away that we used to go to, and probably where we got 80% of the plants round us. My mother wasn't in aged care at the time. She was in her own house, probably, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes drive away, and there was a nursery near her. We used to go there, but one by one we started to notice nurseries closing down. And of course it coincided, didn't it, with these big hardware stores coming into being. We've got a chain of them here in Australia called Bunnings, and about 20 years ago they started popping up everywhere, and whereas your normal hardware store, well, I always thought they were very adequate, but these Bunnings hardware stores take it to a whole nother level. They're a warehouse and they have everything. Very much, if not exactly the same thing as the Americans' Home Depot, right? Or as I would call it, Home Depot, but that's okay. You guys call it Depot, so we'll go with that, right? But I've seen a lot of homesteaders on YouTube go to Home Depot and they look exactly the same as our Bunnings, so I wouldn't even be surprised if they were owned by the same people, just called something different in different countries. But anyway, they have a massive garden section. And needless to say, and I should have done my homework before I did this, but I didn't, but I'm fairly certain that Bunnings is owned by, again, one of the supermarket chains. So, you know, you can't buy, or it's hard to buy, petrol or alcohol or food or hardware or plants or anything in this country. Money's all going to the same bloody place. Which, as I say, it's putting all your eggs in one basket. Very dangerous, and you know my thoughts on it. I think it's disaster waiting to happen. But anyway, so you have to go to one of these places to get your plants. Now the quality of the plants isn't anywhere near as good because they're mass produced, and I'm sure they're fed all these chemical fertilizers and things because they look absolutely wonderful, and you get them home and half of them die within a week. The other thing is too, you used to be able to go to a nursery and get advice. You could take them a leaf of something and say, do you know what this is? Do you know what's wrong with this? Do you know why it's this colour? Or I've got a location like this, and I want something that likes the shade or the sun, and I want this and that, and the ground's wet or dry, and they'd be able to point you in the direction of something suitable to plant there. Now, you go to a Bunnings, one, you've got to wrestle to find someone, but if you do manage to find someone, it's either some pimply teenager that just looks at you blankly and has absolutely no idea of what you're talking about, and it's like, oh, I don't know, mate, you know, I just water them. Or you get some, they seem to employ either the very young or the very old, and the very old want to tell you the ins and outs of a dog's backside when you just want to get your question answered and get out of there. And you've got someone that wants to show you something. Oh, we've got something over here, and you're walking at a snail's pace behind them to get to the other side of the thing, and they're waffling on, and seriously, terrible. But as I say, one by one, the nurseries started closing in favour of these places, and we had one that we knew about that was left, and it was a brilliant little nursery at a town not too far away from us. Nice little drive it was to a town called Littlehampton. And you went to that nursery and it was wonderful. They had half a dozen chickens that wandered around eating all the bugs, and just free ranged in the nursery. And it seemed, I don't know whether they were employees or they were a group of like-minded women that all banded together and decided to open this business. But there seemed to be about 4 women that were, I would say, in their 50s, certainly not older than their 50s, and they were always very helpful, and they were smiling, and the plants were always lovely, but they were sturdy plants. They weren't sort of forced on with chemicals, if you know what I mean. They're genuinely sturdy. You took them home, and as long as you cared for them, they stayed looking good. there was a I guess a shed, large shed thing on the site that was kind of the showroom come office sort of area, and it was filled up with kitschy little thing, crafty things, and you know, little knickknacks, and well, I mean, sort of gardeny, cottagey, decorating type things. I mean, it was great. It really was great, and they were fantastic ladies and so helpful, and it was worth the drive. And a year or so ago, we went to go there, and we pulled up, and it was gone, closed down. Another one bites the dust. And what was interesting is we had noticed about 2 years before that, on the drive into Littlehampton, probably less than half a kilometre outside of Littlehampton, a Bunnings sprung up with one of these huge nursery things attached. And sure enough, 2 years later, this wonderful little nursery was gone. And now, I don't know where in South Australia or around Adelaide you can go and actually go to a proper nursery, not a Bunnings or a Mitre 10 or Home Hardware or any of those chains, not interested, just a proper nursery with quality plants at a reasonable price. You know, it's got a bit of ambience, the people there actually know what they're talking about. It would be great. So yeah, if you live in South Australia or around Adelaide or on the Fleurieu Peninsula south of Adelaide like us, and you know of such a place, leave the information in the comments below, because I'd really be interested, because we just don't have anything like that I'm aware of left, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. Big business, yet gobbles up something else, and people of today, they're only interested in the price, and it's not value for money anymore. So, what can you do? Anyway, that's enough ranting for this week. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos. Give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And until next week, it's goodbye from Hilltop Farm. See ya!